My name is Lauren Love. I live here. I'm a midwife. I'm a mother. I'm a teacher of natural birth control, sacred sexuality, and I'm in service to all things womb related these days. This topic has been something that has been very deep in my life path, and I think that it's actually a very powerful social justice topic that we're looking at, because hormonal birth control and synthetic birth control has been denaturing us, our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, for generations now. And we are put on it without any warnings that these things could kill us, that these things will alter who we are and quite possibly take away our joy and steal from us our essence. And from there, we're left to grapple with how do we restore our bodies after this, and I'm here to help us all get free from this. So it's my prayer that we can take this knowledge and pass it to our friends and our children and the generations to come, that this would become common knowledge. Because what I'm going to share is so simple and so effective and so powerful, and it's for everybody. So, are we good here? So generally I share this information in women's circles, and I want to start off with a song, and I'd like us to sing it together if you feel like opening up with me a little bit and joining our hearts together in this prayer that I'm carrying for the world, that we would get free from this, that we would get free from this fear of unwanted pregnancy, and that we would come into our power both as women and men together, uniting to be free in this, that we don't have to live in fear anymore, and we don't have to be dependent on the pharmaceutical industry anymore at all. So the song is a women's circle song. It says, "And may all women know that they are loved, and may all sisters know that they are strong, and may all daughters know that they are worthy, that the circle of women may live on." And then we sing, hey, hey, yeah, hey, hey, yeah, and flow with this. So I'm going to sing it a couple times so you guys can, get used to it and join in with me, please. And then we'll get going. And may all women know that they are loved, and may all sisters know that they are strong, and may all daughters know that they are worthy, that the circle of women may live on. Hey, hey, yeah, 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 hey, hey, yeah. And may all women know that they are loved, and may all sisters know that they are strong, and may all daughters know that they are worthy, that the circle of women may live on. Sing with me. Hey, hey, yeah, 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 hey, hey, yeah. So, if you were to ask me what is the most precious gift that you've received from practicing natural birth control, I've been practicing this for 9 years now, I would have to tell you that it is the gift of being able to bring this baby that I'm carrying now with prayer, with song, with love, with intention, with ceremony, and being able to choose when I want to open my womb and when I want to become a mother, because I truly believe that becoming a parent is full surrender of your entire life, and that this should be consensual, fully consensual. And so I'm so grateful for this gift, and there are so many other gifts of this practice that we'll get into. The way I look at this practice, I like to call it like a pyramid of protection, because it's somewhat multifaceted, and once you understand the teaching, you can pick and choose what works for you. So the foundation of all of this is mental and spiritual clarity, because for a child to incarnate inside of you is actually a rather multidimensional thing going on. we're living inside of a great mystery, and this is definitely part of it. And so if you're trying to practice natural birth control, but deep down you really want a baby, or your partner really wants a baby, then it might not be as effective because you might not be as steadfast in your practice. And also these beings know that you're open to them. So what I recommend is maybe doing some journaling and asking yourself where you're at, because I feel like there's almost a stigma to wanting to have a baby in our society, especially if you're younger. And I'm here to tell you that if your heart's longing for a baby, it's okay, and you can do it, and God will provide for you. A lot of us are called to this surrender of our life in service of the children, and it's beautiful. And so yeah, get clear with yourself and get clear with your partner. And if you are wanting a baby, realize that and welcome that and prepare yourself for that, But then communicate between each other and make sure you're on the same page. This is of huge importance, because our practice, while so much of our responsibility and power is with the feminine, it's absolutely integral to work with your partner, your masculine partner, with this. So once you get clear and you decide that you don't want a baby right now, you might like to make a declaration to all these realms out here. You might say something like, this is just an example. I don't mean it, darling. Okay, so I am not open to let a being incarnate inside my womb right now. Anyone that comes will be asked to leave, I ask that you be patient and wait till I'm ready. Make it personal, make it for you, but say it out loud, because our words have the power of creation in them. And these beings out there can listen, Sometimes people have the experience of a spirit baby. A lot of times when we're doing lots of psychedelics, it can open us up even more to this. And so sometimes we feel like we have to have this spirit baby right away just because we connected with it, but this isn't true. I have these friends who had one really floating around their heads for years, and they asked for a spiritual babysitter, and they spoke to the spirit and said, hey, please wait a couple years for us, and then we'll be ready to welcome you with love. So I just wanted to address that because it's a real thing. So from there, once you have your mental spiritual clarity, once you're communicating with your partner and you guys are both in on this, the second tier of our pyramid of protection is the Fertility Awareness Method. So this method is not counting days, it's not the rhythm method. I grew up Catholic, and the joke is like, what do you call people who practice natural birth control? Parents. And that's because for generations, people have been like counting days, thinking like, oh, on day 14 I ovulate and I have to do like this. No, your ovulation can change if you're traveling a lot, if you're sick, if you're hanging out with other women. And so we have this way, the Fertility Awareness Method, which is a scientifically proven method, and it's 99.6% effective if you follow it. And it's so simple once you understand it. So I'm going to first explain to you the signs of our body that we're looking at with the Fertility Awareness Method. And from there, I'll go into some simple rules. At the end, if you want to give me your email, I will send everybody a free review of all the key points, because it's a lot to take in. And I'll also send you guys coupons for some natural birth control. Good things. Okay, so starting off, this is a lifestyle, and it's quite simple once you get going with it. So what is my lifestyle like practicing the Fertility Awareness Method? Sign 1, and the most important sign, is what we call basal body temperature. So this is your temperature that you take upon waking. You don't get on your phone first, you don't get up and go to the bathroom first, you don't start talking first, you take your temperature. And you can write it down if you have a chart that you can print out. You can get these charts from me or online, or there's a wonderful app called Kandara, which I've been using for like 9 years now. So I put it in my app, like I take my temperature, or I don't, and I go to the bathroom and like I'm on my phone anyways, I put it right in. Then what do? When I'm going to the bathroom with clean hands, I put my finger inside of myself and check out how I'm doing inside. What am I checking for? The other two signs are cervical mucus and what's going on with our cervix. So what I'm checking for with my cervical fluid. Okay, our cycles every month, we actually start with the first day of our period. After that, our cervical fluid typically goes in a pattern. And everybody's pattern is obviously slightly different, but you may have some dry days, and a dry day is like this, like it's still your yoni, right? It's damp, but there's nothing that you can do this. There's no stretchy fluid, there's no like lotiony fluid. It dries up fast if you were to do this. That's considered a dry day. From there, generally you'll have some lotiony creamy discharge, and it's progressively becoming more clear and stretchy like an egg white. So what this cervical fluid is basically the feminine component of sperm. It's alkalizing the vagina to let sperm live in it. And anytime you have this fluid inside of you, you are considered fertile. Why? Because sperm can live inside of you for up to 5 days, 5-6 days. So this fluid is getting progressively more watery because it's making literal highways for the sperm to travel on. So we have dry days, we have lotiony creamy, you might have some sticky gummy, and then it's becoming clear and stretchy like an egg white. Then after that, it will abruptly dry up. And then once we observe some simple rules, we have weeks at the end of our cycle that we don't have to use absolutely anything for birth control. We cannot get pregnant. Why? Because when we ovulate, we're releasing one egg. This egg is viable for 24 hours and then it disintegrates. So I'll get to the rules in a minute, but we give a little bit of leeway just in case we were to release 2 eggs or 3, like twins or triplets. But then once this window's over, we're free and clear for the rest of our cycles. So we're looking at our fluid, and then we're looking at our cervix, which once I started doing this, you guys, I got really angry because I was like, this is so obvious. Are you kidding me? Why didn't anybody teach me this when I was 11, you know? But our cervix also goes through really noticeable changes. So nobody ever taught me how to know what is my cervix. I don't know about you, but when you put your finger inside yourself, or if you put your finger inside of a woman, it's like this nub that you feel at the back of the vagina. So this is like the door to the uterus that opens up for the babies. This is our cervix. So our cervix generally when we're bleeding is lower in our vagina. It's quite easy to touch. It'll be firm like the tip of your nose. It'll be closed, and it will be dry. After our moon, it should be dry. So this is considered infertile, and this is actually a hack for the entire fertility awareness method. If you forget where you are in the month, if you don't know if you're fertile or not, and you're about to get down, go to the bathroom and check your cervix. Because if your cervix is low and firm and dry, there's nothing on there, there's no fluid, then you're safe for unprotected intercourse. So this is a huge key, it's an easy trick. Now, as we're approaching ovulation, what's our cervix doing? It rises in our vagina to where it might even be hard to reach. It becomes soft, like our lips. You can kind of put your finger in it, especially if you had a baby before, and it becomes wet, so you can get some fluid off of it that you can do this with. So why is it doing that? It's going up and it's opening so that the sperm can travel through. It's like the door to your womb, because like the egg doesn't get fertilized in the vagina. The egg gets fertilized around the fallopian tubes, and then it comes down if a fertilized egg and will implant on the side of the uterus. So like it's like, this is your vagina, here's your cervix, here's your womb, and your fallopian tubes. So like when your cervix is hard and closed, that door is closed. You know, when it's dry, there's no highway for the sperm to survive in or to travel in. So when you see these signs and they all coincide with each other, it all starts to get really clear. Now, with our basal body temperature, we're tracking it. We just put it in our little app every day or write it down. And there are little tiny fluctuations, but it's basically like this, do, 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 do. And then when you ovulate, it spikes, and it's a noticeable spike. So we're looking for this spike to stay up for 3 consecutive days. If it goes up and back down, we have to start this count over again. So if you were to chart this on paper, you could draw a line like between your lower temperatures and your higher temperatures. You could draw a horizontal line in between, and that's what we call the cover line. And you want to make sure that your temperatures are staying above that line for 3 consecutive days. Okay, so how do we make sense of all these signs? First of all, I want to say that practicing the fertility awareness method, I recommend you doing this for 3 months. Getting familiar with your signs. You can reach out to me if you have questions or need further explanation. You need a little hand-holding, I'm here to support you. But after 3 months, you should see these things being super noticeable in your body, and you should see whether or not you can be responsible enough to be keeping track of them. If not, I give you other ways to be protected naturally really easily, so don't worry. However, being in touch with your body and your fertility has so many more benefits than just birth control. It lets me know what kind of energy I'm in. Around ovulation, I'm shining, I'm magnetic, I have energy to really give to my projects, you know? When I know I'm right before menstruation, okay, I can give myself more grace if I'm hormonal, if I need to cry, you know? I can check and be like, oh, that's why I'm feeling like this. Okay, I'm not crazy. You know, it helps you to harmonize with yourself tremendously, and also with your partner. So yeah, once you get into this practice, I mean, me and my partner, I'm always telling him like, yeah, I'm here, yeah, I'm there, you can come inside me today, you can't today, you know, and it's just a natural part of our communication and our life together. Okay, so the Fertility Awareness Method has 4 very simple rules. The first rule is the first 5-day rule, excuse me. This means that you are safe for unprotected intercourse the first 5 days of your period, if you have a normal length of cycle. So this is like 27 to 32 days. If you have a shorter cycle, you're only considered safe the first 3 days of your period. Why? Because you might ovulate sooner, you might ovulate much earlier, and then could become pregnant. So I want to make really clear that you can get pregnant on your period. I have women coming to me all the time saying, I didn't think I could get pregnant on my period and I'm pregnant, can you help me, you know? So tell your friends you can get pregnant on your period. But you're free and clear the first 5 days if you have a normal cycle. First 3 days if yours is shorter. So this is our first rule. I disregarded this rule, and that's how I had my first daughter, which I'm very grateful for. When I was first practicing the Fertility Awareness Method, I was like, oh yeah, I get it. And I went like having this loose idea of when I was fertile and not like following the rules clearly. So this is not practicing fertility awareness. If you're gonna do it, you have to follow the rules. You have to track, because we can think, oh, I'll just remember, but it's so important to track, you guys. And then you can always just like open your app and refer to it wherever you are. So yeah, because what happened with me, I was traveling a bunch one month and I didn't ovulate, but I wasn't doing my temperature. I was only going on my fluid. And so we made love the very last day of my period, like day 6, and then I ovulated early. And so I'm super grateful, but we already felt like this spirit baby so strong. And I was also not mentally and spiritually clear. I was like, deep down I want a baby. I'm kind of like paying attention to my fertility. And we got pregnant. So this is why I say that it is multidimensional what we're doing here. It has layers, and your clarity is paramount. Okay, so rule number 2, this is the dry day rule. This is fabulous. This means that, you know, after your moon, you have some dry days generally. Like I said, it's like this, you know, it's a little damp because it's your yoni, but there's no fluid on it. These dry days, you are safe for unprotected intercourse, and they say from 6 p.m. on. So this is just in case you're going to start letting out fluid, you know? Because why? The vagina is acidic, and it's too acidic to keep sperm alive. That's why the cervical fluid comes in and lets it stay alive. So if there's no cervical fluid, it can't survive, and it'll die off pretty quickly. So you're safe for intercourse the evening of any dry day. What happens if you want to have sex in the middle of the day on dry days? I would check your cervix. If it's low and closed and dry, you're pretty good. I'm also going to give you awesome tools to use during this little window from menstruation up to ovulation that you can use for extra protection, which I have been liking to use for years and have been super effective for me. Okay, so the third rule is about our temperature. So like I said, our temperature is like this, and then it spikes, and we're looking for it to stay up 3 consecutive days. So on the evening of the 3rd consecutive day, you are safe for unprotected intercourse the entire rest of the month. Hallelujah, right? So when I found this out, I'm like, this is amazing, because I don't like to use anything. I just want to be free. I don't know about you guys. It's like, it's so nice to just be like, I'm good. I don't have to think twice about it. So yeah, and then so you're looking for this rule to coincide with the next rule, which is you're looking at your cervical fluid as it becomes egg whitey, stretchy. You'll have so much one day that even when you wipe, you'll feel it. So, and then the next day you'll dry up, which you'll go back to being like, nothing there, okay? So when you dry up, we consider the day before your peak day. And that means peak fluid day, right? So on your first dry day, you're gonna count 4 days. Why are we counting 4 days? And why are we counting 3 days with the temperature? These days are just safety days. They're days where it's like, oh, am I gonna release another egg? Because like sometimes people have twins, you know, probably not, but maybe. So this helps us to be even more protected. So we wait 4 days. On the evening of the 4th day, you're good for the rest of the month. So your temperature rule should coincide with this almost perfectly. If it doesn't, I would rely more on your temperature rule, because the temperature is the one sign that's showing us that you for sure ovulated. So yeah, after this window, you're good for the rest of the month. And it's that simple. I'm going to send you guys these rules if you give me your email so that you can know them, so that you can get to know them, integrate with your body these signs. And once you practice it for a while, it becomes second nature. I check myself a few times during the day, my fluid. And for me, the fluid and the cervix are actually the easiest signs. I've been doing this 9 years. Sometimes I do my temperature, sometimes I totally don't. But what I do to keep myself super protected, even though I don't do my temperature all the time because I get lazy, is I use some other natural things that I'm about to share. Okay, so these are the rules, and it's that simple. It changes slightly if you are breastfeeding or if you are like premenopausal. So why is this? In both of these stages of our body and our being, our body is like trying to ovulate and not necessarily ovulating. So it's really hard to know. What we're looking for during these times is a noticeable shift. So honestly, during these times, it's rather hard to practice the fertility awareness method, because anytime let's go back. When you're breastfeeding, or when you're menopausal, premenopausal, which means like you're missing periods, you might have like emotional signs also, but you're not menstruating like, normally, then it's like our body's trying to ovulate and not necessarily ovulating. So what do we do during these times? You need to track yourself, your fluids, to see what's normal for you for 2 weeks. And this will show you your basic infertile pattern. So most people will be dry, some people will be sticky gummy. So from there, you're looking for a shift. So anytime you start to get any cervical fluid, you have to consider yourself fertile. And then you have to practice the peak day rule again. Once you're dry, you count 4 days. The problem with this that makes this a little harder is that this might happen a couple times, like 2-3 times during the month. So it can be confusing, and then you have to be like, oh, I'm fertile all the time. And it's easy to mess up. So during breastfeeding, during premenopausal, I really recommend using natural products. On my course, I go into explaining a little bit more in depth how to do this for premenopausal and for breastfeeding. So it is a little different, and we just go into it a little bit more deeply. So, okay, so what do we do when we're fertile? The fertility awareness method is like, you should abstain or use a barrier method. And I'm like, first of all, why do we even want to use natural birth control? A lot of us are already aware, and we're here because we got depressed, we got anxious, we gained weight, we didn't know where it was coming from. This is what happened to me, I got so depressed, I had no idea what was going on with me. I got fat, I didn't know what was going on with me. And then a friend told me birth control is horrible for me, so I got off of it and came back to myself. So, they're telling us our whole life, condoms are how to be safe. Condoms will keep you safe. Well, condoms have in them something called nitrosamines. This is a class 1 carcinogen, and it's released inside of us through heat and bodily fluid. Now, if they have a spermicide on them, the spermicides contain non-oxyl 9, which is another class 1 carcinogen. And this actually irritates our tissues and makes us more predisposed to STDs. So yeah, I'm not really into condoms. I used to be when I was younger and crazier. But if you are using condoms, there are more natural brands you can get, if you want this STD protection. And we are working on developing a cream, which will also help prevent the spread of STDs, to be released this year. Now, so yeah, just a little caveat. I'm not going super linear, but just so that we understand really well and we can share this with others, hormonal birth control is a class 1 carcinogen. Every year, 200-300 people, young women like you guys, like me, are dying from it. There's lawsuits coming up against these companies every year in the hundreds in the United States alone of people dying from blood clots and heart attacks from these. My daughter's father died of a heart attack this year from a pharmaceutical. So, it's real, and it could happen to you and me. It could happen to our daughters or our sisters. That's why nobody should be on this. But from there, what hormonal birth control is doing to us is it destroys our gut bacteria, which is the foundation of our health. Then this feeds us into needing more pharmaceuticals. It leaches minerals from our body. It alters our brain, so that we think more masculine, so that we're actually attracted to people with the opposite type of pheromones than we should be for like procreation. And there are studies of people on birth control procreating and having much less healthy offspring because of this. Also, there's a huge phenomenon of women who get off birth control and aren't attracted to their partner anymore. And it has to do with the pheromonal like matchup that's going on. It shifts our brain. It makes us think more masculine. It shrinks like various glands in our body. Our thyroid gland is one of them that regulates our hormones. It can also shrink our clitoris, which most of us know it's not just that bump. It's like this bulbous thing inside of us. It can shrink this wonderful part of our body up to half the size. So I don't know about you, but I am not down. I am so not down. Anyway, okay, so that's just a little rabbit's tail, but you can share that with your friends who are like, I'm fine on my IUD. You know, the copper IUD is one of the less harmful ones because it doesn't have hormones. But copper is a heavy metal and our vaginas are acidic. And so our vaginas are leaching this heavy metal into our body. Now, this is also causing a leaching of vital minerals from our body. So minerals are like just what helps us be in a good state of being. Minerals actually nurture our spirit. Rudolf Steiner says that without minerals, our spirits can't be strong enough to leave the body. What does that mean? I'll let you chew on that. But it's pretty profound, and it's part of the attack on humanity that we're under, the multifaceted attack. But yeah, it's just messing up our whole beings. And the reason why this is so huge is that when the women aren't right, the family's not right, the children aren't right, it echoes out into the world. So if we can get right with this, we're going to see such a deep healing on the earth, you know, in our generation and the generations to come. Okay, so what do we do when we're fertile? They're like, just abstain or use a toxic condom. And I'm like, so I've been doing this for 9 years and I'm like, shit, like that's when you're most horny, right? And I'm like, I'm not gonna abstain if you see my boyfriend. Is this a joke? So anyway, I went on a search, and I'm a midwife, and so they teach us a lot about things like this in our studies. And then I went super deep down the rabbit hole of all the natural ways that women have used throughout the generations to protect themselves. So what did I find? Neem oil. Neem oil is your best friend. Neem oil is amazing. It has been used for contraception in India for thousands of years. This tree is like a miracle tree, and you can get oil made from the leaves or the seeds. They make it organic here in Costa Rica in several companies, but you can get it organic anywhere, and it's super cheap. Now, the problem with neem oil is that it smells like shit. So for me, it's been really hard for me to ever put it in before sex. I actually can't bring myself to do it. So what have we been doing? For years, when I know that I'm fertile, I will have my partner retain his semen. Now, if you're not proficient with this practice, that's okay. You can pull out. What makes pulling out more effective? So pulling out, one, being aware of your body, practicing it on your own, you know, being aware of when you're about to orgasm. Two, if you're going for multiple sessions, peeing in between, because some sperm can stay in the urethra, and if you pee in between, that will clear it out and like help there to not be so much pre-cum things going on that could have thousands of sperm in them. But I can't recommend semen retention enough to all of you. So I find it really profound that men can retain their semen and that women can ejaculate, and that I'm 38 and I've learned these things only in the last years. Like, what the hell is this? These are some of the most profound keys for our sexual satisfaction. These are some of our most profound keys for going to higher levels of connection with God, of connection with our divine essence within our sexuality. Our sexuality was never meant to be like an 11-minute affair. We can go so deep with this in holy union with another and with spirit and with ourselves, and through this practice realize higher levels of our being, activate our chakras, open our hearts. And this is also what's being kept from us by keeping us using these toxic condoms, by keeping us on hormonal birth control that also can kill our libido. It's like, come on. So Semen retention. There are several ways you can practice semen retention. There is a spot on the perineum of the man, which is like between the balls and the butthole, that has like a slight indent. So it's actually really nice to massage this on a man. Generally they like it. I learned this recently. I think it's beautiful. So anyway, if you press into this spot, it's like a slight indent, almost how like on an infant's head has a slight indent. You feel it? It's almost like a triangular spot. So for you men, you can get familiar with this spot and start practicing when you're self-pleasuring. And when you're about to ejaculate, you press on it quite firmly and it will stop the ejaculate. What do you do with all this energy? Okay, you work with your breath. So the Taoist Tantra, which is a really physically based Tantra, is teaching us to like use your breath. So inhale, and we have this thing called the microcosmic orbit. So this is an orbit that goes from our perineum, women have it too, up our spines, into our head. We connect this orbit through putting our tongue on the roof of our mouth, and then it comes all the way back down and circles through our perineum. So when you're orgasming, woman or man, even if you're releasing the semen or not, what you can practice is when you're orgasming, inhaling, and with the alchemical container of your mind, imagining this energy going up your spine, bring it up to your head. You can swirl it around in your head. Make sure your tongue is connected to the roof of your mouth. And then practice what's called the inner smile to your dantian. Your dantian is where your chi is stored. It's right below your belly button. Smile to this place and imagine it trickling down. Then you can do it again. Bringing it up. So this practice is going to help you to not feel so much energy right here if you don't release the ejaculate. Also, if it's really becoming too much for you after practicing this, you can sit down in a chair, put your feet barefoot on the earth, and you can kind of mess with your nipples to stimulate this energy and imagine it trickling out of you, like the energy buildup, because sometimes it can become too much. Okay, so once you've kind of gotten familiar with what it feels like through pressing this point, you can practice with yourself first. This is my favorite kind of way to share about this. It's kind of like starting and stopping during making love. So many of us have the experience, I don't know about you, but of going like with sex from 0 to 10, you know, and having this like 10-minute session, and then we come and the man's done and you're like, okay, I guess I'm done too, you know? And what we can do that can bring us to such higher levels and also help the man to not release his ejaculate is this starting and stopping technique. So it's like you're building up and you're making love, and when the man comes to about a 7, you can stop completely movement, look in each other's eyes, play with each other's hair. Sometimes I'll grab my partner's hair to like give him an intense sensation and bring the energy out of this area. Breathe together. You can change positions at this point. A beautiful practice that you can do during these moments is like yin sex, which is like where you're barely moving. You can just move just a tiny bit enough to keep the man hard and breathe together and look in each other's eyes. You can do this for hours. It's so profound. It's so beautiful. But once the man's calmed down, then you can keep making love and let it build up again. And then when it's getting too much, okay, you stop or change positions, you breathe together. And you can play like this, and this can elongate your lovemaking for as long as you want. This is a wonderful way to go about it. And then also, when the energy is also becoming too much, remember you're breathing and you're bringing this energy up and you're cycling it. There are deeper ways that I won't get into now that you can cycle this energy up your orbit and into your partner, and then you can receive from theirs, and you can really build each other's energy. So this is like a deeper practice. But these keys, this semen retention, is what can bring us into these deeper practices. So practice this when you're self-pleasuring, and then practice it with your partner. And if you're not a master at it right away, that's okay. Because nobody ever taught us this stuff. Nobody ever taught us this stuff. And over time with practice, you can do it too. Like whoever you are, you can do it too. And it's just another level of self-mastery. And if you have to go back to doing it manually, that's okay. And if you have to pull out, that's also okay. We're practicing together and we're working together. So be nice to yourself, you know? It's not about your performance in this. It's about growing in your self-mastery and in your capacity to make love. Okay, so we've been doing for years that my partner, I'll be like, I'm fertile, you know, you can't come with me today. So he'll retain his semen. And then just in case there was some pre-cum or something, I will immediately put neem oil afterwards. So we're not like chill, smoke a cigarette afterwards. I'm like, I get a tincture bottle of neem and I get a full tincture. I get in an interesting position and I make sure a whole dropper gets in there. Neem oil is 100% effective at killing sperm, and it does so in 20 to 30 seconds. So ideally we would put it in before, right? But it smells really funky. I have some friends that get into it. They're like, we just are like making love with the earth. And I'm like, okay, cool, enjoy that. But if you're like me and it just kills the mood for you, then just put it right afterwards. Because even if you're ovulating right then, for a sperm to reach the egg is like equivalent of a man walking halfway around the world. So it's not happening instantaneously, even if you are fertile. So this has been really great for us for years, and we were loving this. But one day I discovered something that in a lot of ways could be even better. It kind of depends what you're into. I love the neem. I'll never knock the neem. And it's a really economical option as well. And we'll get into other uses for birth control using neem, but neem has tons of other benefits. So it's cool to have it around the house, you know, for skin stuff, or if you're sick, for whatever, you can look into it. So I discovered this product. It used to be called Smart Women's Choice. So this cream was created by a 99-year-old Holocaust survivor, scientist from Berkeley, from NYU, and who spent most of her career at Harvard. So she used to make her own soap, and she was like showering one day a long time ago and got interrupted, had sex with her husband, and the cum fell out in the clump. And she's like this deep scientist doing cell research, so she got into like testing it, and then she had her friends test it, who were like kind of okay with getting pregnant, and it worked for all her friends. And she was like, interesting, but she was working at Harvard. She wasn't like trying to develop a contraceptive. She was kind of playing with it. And then one of her best friend's daughters died because she was on birth control. I think this girl was 28. She had like a blood clot or a heart attack. And so this woman, Francois is her name, she decided that she had to take action, and she started producing this cream. So it used to be called Smart Women's Choice, and now we're rebranding and calling it Wise Women's Choice. So this cream is made from all minerals and plant extracts. It has no hormones, no spermicide, no smell, no side effects. About 2% of people experience irritation, so this is the only possible side effect. And the way you use this cream is you take a pea-sized amount, you put it in your yoni right before penetration, and it's just stopping the sperm. So if the sperm is stopped in the vagina, then it can't swim up to the fallopian tubes to fertilize the egg. And this makes it super effective. It's 99.8% effective. Yeah. So if you play some more and then you're going to penetrate again, you have to put it again. Basically, one application is good for one ejaculate, but if you're having more foreplay, like you can squirt it out technically or whatever, so you just put it again and then rinse afterwards. So I've been teaching the natural birth control for years. I've been using this for years only when I'm fertile. It's been working great, sharing it with my community, and people are loving it. So Francois, being 99, tried to work with this other woman who then is trying to steal her company because she's like, this woman's gonna die anyway. Yeah, who does that? And so I have this relationship with this woman for years, and I reached out to her this year, and she was like, actually, I need you to start making it. And I'm like, what? So I went to meet with her, and she gave us the company. This is a patented birth control. She gave us the patent, and my partner just happens to be a brilliant chemist. So we're opening a lab here, and like next week we'll have registration to sell it even in pharmacies and permission to export it all around the world. So if you connect with this and want to work with me, like please get in touch, because this is an incredibly powerful tool, because not everybody is ready to practice fertility awareness. Like when I was 20 and drunk all the time and like being so free with my sexuality, I was not ready to check my cervical fluid and temperature every day. But had I had this cream, I could be protected without these side effects, you know? So we can share this with the world. We can also just share the neem oil with the world. This cream is like slightly over $1 a use. It's just like the same cost as condoms or cheaper. It doesn't prevent against STDs, but it sure is great. So anyway, I'll be giving away some of this at the end, and we'll have it available. So at Osa Natural or the Village Witches by the Yoga. So yeah, the awesomest part about all of this is that if you are practicing fertility awareness, you only need these tools like 5-6 days a month. The rest of the time you're totally free. You don't have to think about it. You're free. And it's so powerful because once you get used to it, you don't have to be afraid anymore, you know? Like when I was in my 20s, I was on hormonal birth control, I was using condoms, and I was pulling out because I was terrified of getting pregnant. I didn't know how it worked, you guys. I don't know about you, but my whole life I was thinking like penis and vagina, you can get pregnant. And it's not true. It's not true. It's only when you're fertile that you can get pregnant. So anyway, the idea is that we would be free in our sexuality all month long and free from fear of pregnancy, period. Because we know our bodies and we know that the power lies within us. So a really beautiful little side note of all of this is that if you understand your fertility, you can kind of choose the sex of your baby if you choose to have one day. Yeah, it's called the Shoots method. It's 90% effective. And so basically if you want a girl, you try like the very first day of your cervical fluid. And then the boy's sperm are faster and they die off faster. So then the sperm's in there for some days before the eggs release, the boy's sperm die off and it's mostly girls left. Now if you want a boy, you're tracking your cycle every month, you know about when you ovulate, you wait till ovulation. And if you can catch it right, then it will be a boy, like 90%. So obviously it's not 100%, but it's kind of cool, right? Anyway, okay, so you're practicing your fertility awareness. Maybe you had some crazy times and you didn't have your neem oil or your wise woman's choice with you or whatever, and you think you might have gotten pregnant, or you know that you were having sex right around your ovulation. So what would I do in that case? What should you do? One, check your app. If you've been tracking and you know that like, oh, I have wet cervical fluid, but I'm probably not ovulating for a few more days, put neem oil in, or put wise woman's choice in afterwards, and it will stop the sperm. So that when you do ovulate, you're good. You don't have to freak out. You don't have to take Plan B. Plan B is terrible for you. Okay? It's okay if you really need it, right? But there are natural ways to deal with this. Plan B has concentrated amounts of these hormones in it, and it can affect your body long term. So I don't recommend it. I have taken it before, but I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. So neem oil if you're before your ovulation. Okay, so there are a lot of natural ways to get rid of a fertilized egg. And the easiest way to do this is before you even miss your first period. Why? Because the first week or so, the egg hasn't even really implanted in the uterus. And so it's just much easier to just release this. Once it starts implanting and growing, it's much harder to make leaves. So what would I start off doing? Number one, I would connect with my womb. I would connect with my womb and I would talk to it and I would let it know that it's not welcome here. I would command it to leave. You can say whatever you want. Come back in 2 years. I would love to have you. I hope the same you comes back. Wherever you're at, but be clear with it. And from anecdotal evidence with the midwives I work with, this can work like 40% of the time. It actually worked for me. I have had one miscarriage, and this was before we got pregnant with my daughter, and I started freaking out, and I was very clear, like, I do not want this now, and it left right away. So it does work for a lot of women, but I wouldn't rely just on that. You can go to your trusty neem oil, and you can take it orally for up to 2 weeks. No longer than 2 weeks because it can damage your organs. And then also be putting it in your yoni nonstop. Why? Because when you're doing this, you're creating a powerful immune response in your body that's so powerful it can slough out a fertilized egg really easily. What's another thing you could do? Vitamin C. Vitamin C has this like acid in it. The name's not coming to me right now. I think it's absorbic acid. Now, if you take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and put it in your yoni for 3 days straight, this is making the uterus too acidic to house a pregnancy. So again, you're doing this before you even miss your period. And then you can take tons of vitamin C all day long. If you're working with vitamin C, you have to make sure that you're not having caffeine or nicotine because this inhibits the absorption. What are other things you can do? Parsley is notorious for this. You can drink shit tons of parsley juice and also be putting parsley in your yoni, change it out throughout the day. And the plants are so powerful when we put our intention into them. So like if you're working with parsley, talk to the parsley. Hey, help me. You know, women have been making allies with plants forever for these purposes. So a really powerful plant ally for getting rid of an unwanted pregnancy is rue or ruda. So this can be used in tons of different ways. You can make an infusion, which is like a whole ounce of this dried herb. You pour hot water over it, like a quart, and leave it for like 6 hours. This is not just a tea, it's like a more powerful medicine, and then you drink it throughout the day. You can also generally get these pills in nature stores, like 500 milligrams of rue, and just take them. What the rue does is it inhibits progesterone. Progesterone is the hormone that lets the egg stay attached to the uterus. So if we don't have progesterone, the egg has to be released and we're good. You can also, I mean, it just depends on how witchy you are, right? Like if you have this dried at home, you can yoni smudge with smoke. Like this plant spirit itself is an ally in letting go of unwanted pregnancy. You can do a lot with it. You can take tinctures of dong quai along with blue cohosh. This will both stop the progesterone and start uterine contractions. I have a bunch of these included in the notes so that you can refer to them if you ever have an emergency or your friend does, or you can always also reach out to me and I'm happy to be of service. So working with like herbal abortions, when we're doing this, it's really ideal before you even miss your period. Once you miss your period, the baby's attached and is growing inside you. So the first weeks of the baby's life, it's actually growing all its vital organs, and we don't know how these herbs are actually affecting it. A lot of them are quite strong. So they say that if you are going to attempt herbal abortion, which there's a lot of other ways too that we can get into, that you need to make sure that you're going to follow through with a surgical abortion or with like a medical one with pills that I'll get into. Why? Because we don't know how it's affecting our baby, the growing baby, you know? I will say that I do have some really dear friends who tried herbal abortion and then they got some pills for me to end their pregnancy, and we prayed together and they went home and they couldn't take them, and now they have a beautiful, healthy little boy. So take that for what you will, but it is risky. It can be quite risky, and it depends what herbs you're working with. So do it at your own discretion. If you wait longer and try to have an herbal abortion, this can be really bad for your organs. It can be a really hard process, and I don't recommend it. I recommend it if you haven't missed your moon yet. From there, if you've missed your period and you're pregnant and it's not right for you, we have another tool. So I'm not here saying like let's have abortions, that this is some beautiful thing. I've been working with abortions for years because it's illegal here and people need support. And it's really painful for me. It's so painful for me, and it's painful for the women, whether they know that really they don't want this baby and it's right for them to make this decision or not. So if you've had an abortion, I really encourage you to sit with yourself and give yourself some time to process this. Make some space in your life to process it if you haven't, and grieve it, celebrate it, do whatever you need to do. But it's important to bring closure to this because we can carry this pain for 20 years, you know, for the rest of our life. And so it's really awesome to honor your heart and honor your emotions and honor your being. I offer closing of the bone ceremonies after births and after abortions and things like this. So reach out to me if you're going to be in Costa Rica and this is something you need or want to close an abortion or to close a miscarriage or to close a process you've had that doesn't feel closed yet. I can help you of service with this. So yeah, if you do need to go through an abortion, it's so important to give yourself rest. It's so important that you're not trying to have an abortion and be like going right back to work. You need a minimum of 3 full days, if not 7 to 10, because it's just like giving birth. You have to have these contractions, you have to have bleeding. It's hard on your body and it's hard on your heart. So honor yourself with the time, honor yourself with the attention to your heart and your emotions. And if you have a sister going through this, like support them and be there for them and help them to do the same. So if you need to have an abortion, I'm going to teach you how to do it safely and at home. But make sure you're taking good care of yourself and that you have support. Make sure you're eating good foods and giving yourself time in nature and praying and crying and doing whatever you need. So I give you this information because I wish I had had it. And I wish that that my friends have had it. Because when you know that an abortion is not thousands of dollars and a scary doctor away, you know that this power is in your hands. So if you choose not to, you know, you're pregnant and you don't know if you want it, you choose not to, you know that you're going into motherhood with full consent. You know that you made this choice, and that ability to make that choice and that knowing that you really did have the choice will give you grace for this huge surrender that is motherhood. I have friends that wanted an abortion, they weren't able to, and they love their kids, thank God, it's such a blessing. But years later, they're still suffering because they felt like they didn't have a choice. So my heart in sharing about how to have an abortion is that you would have a choice that hopefully you would never have to use. All this information should keep you and your friends from ever needing this. But in the last resort, we have a drug called misoprostol. It is a pharmaceutical. The World Health Organization, not that we trust those motherfuckers, but they've said it's safe for at-home abortion up to 12 weeks. It's actually safe up to like 24 weeks, although I really don't recommend that. It's best to use this like at least about 6 weeks into a pregnancy. So why is that a good thing? Because that gives you time to think about it. So on another note, as a midwife, I have to say that even when people really wanted a baby, there is this moment of freak out, like, oh my God, I don't know if I want it. I might not really want a baby. I don't think I do want a baby. No, I don't want a baby. And this is just like a normal process. Like when you're pregnant, you have so many hormones, and our culture has been so like stigmatizing, like even the desire to become a mother. And also there's the economic pressure and like, what are you gonna do? And is this the right person? There's so many things at play. So if you get pregnant and you have this feeling, know that it's normal, and that doesn't necessarily mean you should abort your baby. Okay, you can tell your friends that too if they're going through this. But anyway, these pills you can get online if they're not readily available in your community. And basically, there are guides online for you as well to teach you how to do this safely. But I recommend taking ibuprofen or kratom, a natural like opiate basically, beforehand, because having an abortion is painful. So anyway, this will help with the pain. And also prayer can help with the pain, and also breathing, just like with birth. But prepare yourself ahead. Don't do it alone, because you could actually hemorrhage, and you need somebody that can take you to the hospital in this case. It's rare, but it's possible. And you need emotional support, and you deserve it if you ever have to go through this. So you take 4 pills of 200 milligrams, and you crush them up and you put them in your cheek or under your tongue. You hold them there for half an hour, and then you drink it down. And this will bring on uterine contractions, and you will bleed for up to 2 weeks. There will probably be a mass that comes out from, about a month on. And you can take this mass and bury it, or give it to the river, or, honor it and honor your process around it as well. So if it doesn't work, you can take it again. You wait 3 hours, you can do it again. You wait 3 more hours, you can do it again. If it doesn't work then, you wait till the next day or a couple of days later, and you can do it again. A thing that can make it more effective, but this drug is not as readily available, it's also quite expensive, it's called mifepristone. So the mifepristone is inhibiting the progesterone that keeps the baby attached. So you would ideally take this one first, then the baby can't stay attached. The misoprostol gives you the contractions that are like labor to like release it. But misoprostol is a lot more cheaper and readily available. So if you can only get this one, you might have to do it a couple of times, but it should work for you. So yeah, that's kind of the breakdown, you guys. Do we have any questions that anybody wants to ask? Yes. I'm so not into condoms, I don't even know. But you can look it up online. There's like latex-free condoms, and you can look at the ingredients. You want to make sure that they don't have nitrosamines in them, or like synthetic spermicides like non-oxyl 9. Yeah, the carcinogenic ingredients are the nitrosamines or the non-oxyl 9. So when you look them up, these brands like stand for being holistic, and you'll know what's what, but they also do help to prevent the spread of STDs. Oh, side note, neem oil helps to prevent the spread of STDs. So if you're really not into condoms and you can deal with the smell, you can smear it all over first. It is antibacterial, antifungal, anti-everything, and it's killing these pathogens, antiviral. So viral like herpes, viral like even AIDS. There are studies showing that it kills even AIDS, and it kills them fast. So, take that for what you will. Use it at your own risk, I don't want you getting AIDS over this, but there are studies, and read up on neem. It's fascinating. It does so much. But this can help, prevent the spread of all kinds of things. So yeah, if you can get down with the smell, try it out. I don't know. Any other questions?
I was wondering, you talked about like one of the options being putting vitamin C in your yoni. Yeah. I'm just trying to understand what that would even look like. Like, would you get the crystalline form and then or liquid? I don't know.
So vitamin C tabs are readily available pretty much everywhere, and you crush it up and put it in your vagina. Don't have sex while you're doing this. It can be quite irritating. So you can use also like coconut oil during that time. You do it for 3 days in a row. And no nicotine and caffeine again. Anyone else? Yes? It is antibacterial, so it could affect it for sure. I've been using it for a long time, and I've found it to be like only beneficial to my yoni, like super soothing. It's actually a really nice lubricant, and it smells funny, but by the end of the day, that smell's gone from me, and my vagina is feeling awesome. So I have really positive effects from using it for years, you know. But yeah, it's antibacterial, so I do see that it could throw it off, but I've never gotten an infection or anything being off from it, only benefits. Yeah.
Are there any benefits to men retaining their semen?
Absolutely, thank you for asking. Okay, so back to semen retention. Semen retention is an esoteric tool that the tantric practitioners have been using forever. Basically, when a man releases his semen, he's releasing his life force, and a third of the man's life force and energy goes to making more semen right away. That's why a lot of men will pass out right after or are totally spent afterwards, and it can also make this like retraction energetically between partners. So basically, like coming too much, like ejaculating too much for men is associated with hair loss, with like brain fog, you know. Learning to retain the semen will help you to be more mentally clear as a man. It will help you to keep your vitality. It will help you to age way slower. It will help you to have way better sex and provide way more pleasure for your woman because you can last longer. And also what I didn't get into is that Mantak Chia is like the most famous teacher of this right now. You can check him out on YouTube. He is this adorable old Asian dude. And he talks about how we can take this energy and bring it up to like our vital organs. So he's like, you can take this orgasmic energy that you built up and bring it to your spleen if your spleen needs attention, or your liver or whatever. So I am no professional, you know, with this, but it is possible. I know it is. The one basic practice I know is like swirling it around your brain to bring renewal to your brain cells. So this is what I do with my orgasmic energy basically. And also you can use this built up energy for creation. So, you know, once you're building this up and you have so much orgasmic energy and you're cycling it, visualizing what you're creating, visualizing the world that you want and what you want in your life, this energy can feed into that tremendously. But yeah, you can look up more of the benefits, but there's tons. It's just like how we lose a lot of energy from menstruating. It's the same. Like semen is a blood product, so it's losing a lot of energy for the men. That's totally not necessary. So try it for a couple months. You'll see that you're like way more vitalized and more successful with your work and all of this. Yeah. Thank you for asking. I forgot about that. Yes.
When men will do this semen retention, they still will feel an orgasm?
Yeah. So it's different, you know, and I talked to my boyfriend. I'm like, so is it as good for you if you're not actually ejaculating? And he's like, not really. And I'm like, yeah, it's not for me either. Thanks. You know, like if you've experienced ejaculation as a woman, you know that this is a way deeper, more profound type of orgasm, and so it can be this way for men. However, if you're retaining your semen, you can take a breather, like a refractionary period or a yin sex where you're still period, and then you can keep going. So the idea with semen retention is that you keep going and going, and you're building up this orgasmic energy to where the man can then have full body orgasms and feel pleasure radiating and vibrating throughout their whole body. So it can take you to such a higher level, but it's not immediate. I mean, you're still having pleasure at your climax moment, but it's not immediate. That's why I love the start and stop. So it's not, so instead of pressing the point, you're just getting really close and coming back, and then you can go for longer and build the energy. So then it's radiating through your whole being. And yeah, there's so much to study and learn about all this because nobody taught us shit, you know, about lovemaking. And I'm, you know, I'm a student, not a teacher of this yet, you know, it's just the beginning, but there's such high level knowledge about this, and it's time for us to all go into it more deeply so we can give this gift of like deeper, higher sex to each other. Anybody else? Yeah?
Okay. It's kind of adjacent, but I'm curious, like, do you have any good recommendations on like natural like lubricant to use during sex?
Yeah, I love coconut oil. I mean, coconut oil has so many benefits for our body with like also being antibacterial and like keeping this clean, balancing us for anything. You can use coconut oil with the Wise Woman's Choice cream just fine. I love this one. I know that there are like water-based, natural, like wonderful lubricants. Cannabis oil lubricants I hear are like phenomenal, and you can get these super natural, organic.
Had something like, it wasn't like one of those in a packet. It was like algae based, so it almost like mimicked like that like really slippery cervical food.
Did you like it?
I did, but like it disappeared. So I haven't heard about it like again.
Yeah, I mean, for me and my path, like the less processed, the better, right? So like coconut oil is totally natural. You can get it unfiltered even. This is like the purest that you can give yourself. And, you know, we can get these processed things that are like, oh, it's, you know, bio or green or whatever. But the more processed we get, the less close to our nature it is. That's why we're also working on this other birth control, because Wise Woman's Choice is a phenomenal tool. But my real goal is that everything would come straight from nature, no processes, and fully organic to be putting inside our bodies, you know? So we're working as hard as we can to bring this to the world. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah? Can you speak up? I don't hear. That's a really awesome, interesting question. There actually have been studies, because neem has been used for contraception for thousands of years, so there have been studies where men take neem oil internally and become temporarily infertile. And as soon as they discontinue the use, they become fertile again. So most people aren't willing to take that chance, right? Like maybe it hasn't had enough studies or whatever, but there have been small studies that show this. Now, what I understand about neem oil is taking it for longer than 2 weeks can damage your organs, like your kidney and your liver. And so for me, that wouldn't be my preferred way. Honestly, just putting some afterwards, like really by the end of the day, the woman isn't smelling like it anymore. It's just a couple hours. And honestly, I have plenty of people who are like, the smell's not that bad, we can totally get down with it. I just am like, you know, it's maybe kind of personal. So, anyone else? Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Yeah, I pray that this would go out to your children's children and all your friends. After this, we're going to have a photo shoot. Anybody who wants a free sample of the Wise Woman's Choice, we'd love to just take some photos with anybody cute like you guys in the nature with it, just to help us launch this internationally. And we'll give you a sample with about 15 uses in it. So just come meet with us. We have my friend here who's going to be photographing, and it's going to be super fun. Yeah, thank you.
Lauren, thank you so much. That was fascinating and something that we all should have learned way long ago. You mentioned earlier that we could email you or give you your emails. Would you want to?
You.
Yeah. Maybe you can give us your email and we can write it down so we can contact you. Yeah, that might be a little bit easier.
Sure. Okay. Okay, so my Instagram is thegoddessguide555, and my email is thegoddessguide555@gmail.com. So, or you can come meet me afterwards and write your email here. And like I said, I'll give you the review so you can reference it. It's really important to go over this information before you're like, I get it. And also I will give you a coupon for the Wise Woman's Choice for your first online order if you're into it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Well, thank you guys for joining.